Christ is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for August 11th, 2025. Well, I hope everyone had a restful weekend, ready for another busy day in the market. How about we dig right in and let's take a look at what happened over the weekend, overnight, here as markets overseas picked up and, well, made some moves. Australia last night was up 37.70 or 0.43%. We see Hong Kong was up 47.99 at 0.11%. We have South Korea just ever so slightly lower, down $3.24 or 0.10%. If we take a look at the Nikkei, big day in the Nikkei, up 761.33, 1.85% higher. India popped up by 221.79 or 0.91%. In the Shanghai, higher by 1242 or 0.34%. If we were to take a look at what's going on in Europe this morning, we have the DAX this morning. The DAX is down $60.86 at 0.25%. The FTSE is moving higher by 2149. 0.24%, and the CAC is lower by 2168, 0.28%. With that going on in Europe, it is having a zero effect apparently on U.S. futures. U.S. futures this morning are green across the board and, well, still trying to pump higher in the pre-market. We've got the Dow futures at the moment up 107 points even. S&P 500 futures are up $8.25, and NASDAQ futures, which hit new record highs on Friday, is up 20.25%. I'm looking for some, not percent, dollars, and looking for some new record highs this morning. Let's take a look at our bond prices here this morning. Now, our bonds, a little bit mixed to lower here. We've got the 2-year bond coming in at 3.75% this morning. 10-year bond is at 4.26%, and that 30-year bond is at 4.83. If we take a look at how that's affecting the U.S. dollar, we had quite a pop there in the dollar. Now, I got to tell you, I think that overnight pop might be just a bad tick in the market, but we'll want to be keeping an eye on that, because if this starts to push up right here, that's exactly where we'd want to start seeing it move higher on that trend. And of course, we're coming in across right in here on this neckline break of this inverted head and shoulders. So watch that carefully if that dollar starts to strengthen. Now, with the dollar showing maybe that little bit of strengthening, we're up 9 cents on the day. Well, we're really moving lower in some gold futures this morning. Now, I'm not showing a major move right here in GLD just yet. Gold futures at the moment, however, are down $72.20 an ounce this morning. So pretty substantial decline here in the pre-market on that. If we take a look at silver, and here again, we're not seeing a major move yet in the SLV, but we are down in silver futures by 56 cents at $37.98 an ounce. Gold is at $34.18 an ounce. So pretty substantial declines in those precious metals here this morning. We're also seeing it in copper. Copper's moving lower here this morning, but only by about a penny here today. So we take a look at COPX here. That's been pushing these all-time highs here. And FCX has been pushing back up, could create a lower high in here if copper continues to show that weakness. Taking a look at platinum in here. Platinum is moving lower this morning, down $12.90, and that's a beautiful potential short pattern there on PPLT, so keep an eye on that. And palladium is also lower here this morning by $2.40 an ounce, continuing that short pattern move here on palladium. If we were to take a look at what's happening in the crypto markets here as a result, well, we've got Bitcoin zooming higher here this morning. We've got Bitcoin up $2,509 a coin this morning, really pushing up 2.13% in a big gap up. And Ether, which has been on a tear here lately, continuing to gap higher. Right now, Ether is only up, well, in the pre-market here, it's showing up $8 a coin, or 0.19%. So keep an eye on that this morning as Ether continues to run to the upside. So watch those markets carefully here today. Well, I think that's it. How about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Monday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these index charts, see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to shake off that bias. We really want to look at the charts for what they are, not for what we would like them to be. So first off, if we take a look at our diamonds here, we still want to recognize, even though we've had all of this bouncing around in here, we have still yet to break back through that resistance right here in the chart and recover that area of resistance. Now, it's certainly possible today with this pre-market bounce that we're looking at that we might pop right on through there. And then we'll look and see if we can attack the top of that big black candle. If we can get up through there, then I think we need to get through this next level of price resistance right in here. See if we can push up through that area of the chart. So watch that carefully. If we get something going here, pushing on up past that point, then I think we're right back up here, testing this area of price resistance, and through that, then I think we're looking at testing these recent highs. Remember, we have not yet been able to break out to all-time highs here in the diamonds just yet. Now, if the bears were to have anything to say, and we do have to recognize this as a possibility because of this resistance here in the chart and that possibility that this could create a lower high. So as we push back up in here, let's watch this carefully, because if the bears were to have anything to say and we were to push this back down, well, again, first place we want to be watching is probably a little bit of price support right there. Breaking down below that candle on Friday could probably get a little bit of concern coming up in the market, but where it would really start to add some pressure in here is if we were to push back down to test these lows right here. And certainly a possibility if we get some data here that would bring out the bears. It would be breaking down below there that I think would really raise some concern in the market. And we'd want to recognize the possibility that that could be a retest down in here of that 50-day moving average. 50-day moving average continues to rise. Our 200-day is flattened out a little bit, but watch that carefully. We also want to recognize the fact if the bears were to really get going, there is a big area of price support right in here, down there between that 50 and the 200 that could certainly be tested if those bears were to get going. Now, when we take a look at the SPY and the QQQ, you can't see much of any bearishness at all. It's all bull all the time in these big tech reports, and they are continuing to show lots of pressure to the upside. Doesn't seem to be any price in here that folks aren't willing to spend up on the Mag 7, and they are the ones that are lifting the market the most. So if those bulls can continue to push here, break back above that Friday high, looks like a possibility, and then it's just a little bit of a push. We'll be right up here making new record highs in the SPY. With the QQQ already up there, there's every reason to believe that's a possibility. Now, at the same time, if the bears have anything to say here, if we were to get something in the data that brings out those bears, if we were to show failure here, and that would be probably something in a shooting star, a bearish engulfing, something like that, that it would occur on the SPY, that does still give us that possibility of that double top high. So watch carefully here if that were to happen. But one of the things that we've got going in our favor is we've got some pretty good areas of price support in here. We've got this upside trend in our favor. So it's going to need to be something pretty strong to get those bears going here, particularly anything that has the mass, all these Mag 7s in it, like the SPY. We're going to need something that really shakes the tree here. So watch that carefully. If the bears were to get going in here, press down into this area of price support, changes nothing. A little bit of rest maybe is all that would show. If we were to break below there, I would suggest coming down into this area of price support. And beyond that, I think is where we could really raise some concern. There's a nice little area of price support right in there that could catch us, but watch that carefully if we were to come down into that area. Now, looking at our moving averages, you can see if we really started pushing back down here, maybe a retest of that 34 EMA could be possible, and a failure of that 34 EMA at a double top, we could see maybe that 50-day moving average, or perhaps even lower, to big areas of price support in the chart. Now, that's only if those bears get going. There is nothing in this chart right now that suggests that bearishness is showing up just yet. Now, same thing here, the QQQ, we made new record highs. There's blue sky above in this. Every reason to believe if we continue this big tech push that we can just keep making new record highs here in the chart. It would only be if those bears were to push back in here. You can see at this morning's open, we're just a tiny little bit lower than that high in here. At least that's the way it's being displayed on the chart at the moment. That could change before the open. But taking a look at there, we've got this upside trend in here to be considering as well. A pushback here in the QQQ, I would look right in this area right here for a little bit of price support right in there on that trend. It would be breaking down through there that would probably raise a little bit of worry, and then that possibility that we could come on back and test this area of price support. It would be breaking below there that would probably raise some concern in the market. But right now there is nothing in here that suggests that that is going to be the case. So I would stay with the upside. And again, as I've been saying so many times in here, is follow the trend. Stay with the trend until the trend breaks. The problem that we have is when the trend breaks, I think there's going to be some big price moves. So make sure you have a plan to protect yourself in case that were to occur. Looking in here, a pushback into here, if we were to make it all the way back down to that 34 EMA, that would be a substantial reversal here in the market. Nothing in there that suggests that is the case, but just be prepared for big point moves if that were to occur. And then if we look at IWM continuing to push back up. Now IWM, I keep thinking that small caps, the big bill that they passed has a tremendous benefit in here to those small caps in growing their company. So watch that carefully in here. We're pressing against this price resistance in the chart. If those bulls can continue to push and break solidly up through there, then I'm going to look for this area right through here as a little bit of price resistance in the chart. So watch that carefully. If we were to push and break through that area, then I think there is that chance we can start stretching right on up here through some of these other price levels to see if we can come back up here toward these recent highs in the chart. Now, if the bears were to attack and have anything to say in here, this would be the place we'd be watching for, is against that price resistance and pushing back down. There's a little area of price support right through here that we'd want to watch, and that would be if we pull back into there, no harm, no foul, no problem at all. It would be breaking below that that might raise a little bit of concern. We've got these tails down here that could be the next little area that we might catch, and then pushing below there into this area of price support is where I would see maybe that possibility of the bounce back up. But you do want to consider the possibility in here in the IWM that this could be that downside trend area in here, and if we were to roll over here creating that lower high, that creates a relatively bearish pattern in here on IWM. So watch that carefully. Our IWM also could easily retest that 50-day moving average if we were to break back down through here. And then I think if that were to occur, we could move substantially lower. So be prepared if those bears were to have anything to say. Now let's take a look at our VIX. Our VIX here has been pulling back, and Friday had a remarkable pullback in here. It's as if the market says we're just not scared about anything. We think tech is going to continue, AI is going to continue to just drive us higher and higher and higher despite valuations in here. So no fear here in the market, and we've broken down a lot of these support levels here. On Friday we really broke it down here in the chart. So if those bulls continue to find inspiration, well, let's look this morning in the gap up. We could be right back here testing these recent lows here in the VIX, showing no fear in the market. Breaking back down below there, well, we start reaching down into areas that we start showing a little bit of complacency in the market. So watch that carefully if we were really to continue this zoom to the upside here, particularly on the lower volume and weaker breadth that we have been seeing here in the market. That is a bit concerning as we continue to rally. Let's take a look at our T20s. Our T2122, whoops, did I have that on a 2-day? Nope, I didn't. Okay. Our T2122 indicator in here, if we take a look at that, T2122 was kind of flat in here on Friday. We didn't get any kind of major move to the upside. Even with that bullishness in T2122, you can see we had that overall decline, and then we kind of flattened out here at the end of the day. So one of the things we want to be paying attention to here in T2122 is we are just below that mid area, that 50% area, which means about half the stocks out there are making 4-week new highs, half are making 4-week new low ratios here in the market. So we're kind of in the middle of the road. If those bulls have inspiration here today, then we certainly have made plenty of upside opportunity for them to push to the upside. The question is, can we get the volume and the breadth to really push us through? If the bears were to have anything to say, same thing here is true for them. We need more breadth. We need more energy in the market. Right now, when we start to sell, it just dies on the vine because there's no major interest to sell. So watch that carefully here. We've got just a little bit less opportunity to the downside for those bears to push. If we look at our T2108, percentage of stocks above the 40-day moving average, We turned back up there on Friday, but you want to notice that it wasn't all that impressive. We had this little bit of a bump to the upside. We kind of lacked that enthusiasm in here. So if the bulls can continue to push this morning in this gap up, let's watch for a little area up here around the 50% area. 50% of the stocks back above their 40-day moving average. We could certainly see that as a test of resistance. If we can push on through there, then let's watch this congestion area up here. There's quite a bit of congestion to see if we can break on through up there. Now, if the Bears were to have anything to say, and you could see that possibility in here with that weakness that we saw on Friday, that if the Bears were to get going, maybe a test back down into these areas of price support in the chart look possible, something right across in here. Now, if we pulled back into there, no harm, no foul. It would be if we broke back through this area here and came back toward this 30% area. That's where I think we might raise a little bit of concern in the market. So watch that on T2108. T2107. T2107 also a little bit on the lackluster side. At one point of the day, we did make that new high on Friday, and then we kind of faded it back just a little bit. So you can see if those bulls can continue to push in here, then I think that area right up in here is a good place for us to be looking for a test in T2107. And then pushing on through there, maybe we can catch this recent high here in that index. Now, if the Bears have anything to say, that percentage of stocks above the 200, if that were to slip and slip it back below this area, I do think that would raise a little bit of concern in that possibility that we could start coming back to some of these bigger areas of price support in there around 35% of the stocks above the 40-day moving average. You can see pretty decent area in there. So watch that area here if those Bears were to have anything to say. And T2101, the T2101 indicator here has been really a concern for me. And although we saw just a tiniest little breadth increase there on Friday, we have really been suffering for breadth. Now, one hopeful thing that may be able to pick us back up here on that breadth side would be just simply the fact that we are through our major blackout period here. The majority of stocks, we've got a tremendous amount of those earnings out of the way. So corporate buybacks could really start to begin here again and see if that can push up. I just wonder if that would bring this breadth back up right now, because we are really suffering in here on breadth and just lack of participation. So watch that carefully here on T2101. If you're a bull, you want to see that breadth continue to expand to the upside. Start breaking through some of these levels up here in this resistance. What you don't want to see, you don't want to see that breadth pushing up on the bearish wave, or you don't want to see us moving continuously higher and seeing that breadth continuing to decline, because that sets up that opportunity for that whipsaw and reversal in the market that we know can come very, very quickly. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, well, it's a busy one. We start off really light, and then we really crank it up toward the end of the month with some major reports here in the middle. So first off today, not much going on here. 3 and 6 month bond auction. Keep an eye on that, but no major worries or concerns there. Coming into Tuesday, and I think a lot of folks are going to be thinking about this pretty early today, is this CPI report coming up 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday. We got an NFIB Small Business Optimism report. We're going to be looking in here for a couple of bond auctions and some Fed speak in here as well. As we move into Wednesday, a normal mortgage application, some Fed speak, petroleum status number as normal. We've got bond auctions and a lot more Fed speak this weekend here to to be thinking about. Thursday, we're going to catch into that jobless claims, and then we're going to get the PPI, the producer prices, after those consumer prices coming here on Tuesday, and then a natural gas report. We're going to have some bond auctions, some more Fed speak in here on Thursday, along with that Fed balance sheet. And then if we look at Friday, boy, talk about ramping up into some big data here on Friday. We're going to get those retail sales, Empire State Manufacturing, import-export prices, and all there at 8:30, an hour before the market opens. And then we get industrial production, business inventories, consumer sentiment, Baker Hughes, and Treasury International Capital. So big day there on Friday to be thinking about. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar here. And our earnings calendar today, well, we pick up on some earnings here today for sure, but we've got through the bulk of earnings. There's still going to be plenty of notables here, and we'll ramp up as we go into Wednesday and Thursday with more numbers. But there's your list of notables here this morning. Go ahead and pause the video. I'm not going to go through those this morning, just simply because they're not like the stocks that move the market here a ton, and I'm running out of time already. So take a look at that. So how about we take a look at some stocks that could be setting up here for the day. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube, and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, and that would be click that thumbs up button, leave that brief comment. That helps the channel to continue to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who takes the time to do that. I do truly appreciate it. I also want to let everyone know that today I am holding an open house. So from this, you can just scan that QR code, sign up, and come right on in. We're going to spend the entire day in that open house, so you can ask me any question, anything that you'd like to talk about. I would be more than happy to help you with that, and you can kind of get an idea of what we do here in Right Way Options. Remember, I start right about just before the market opens, and then we'll have a 2-hour session that goes straight through in training, a 2-hour session every single day, and that always begins at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So be prepared for that if you want to be there today. We'd love to see you. Let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up. But remember, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence. Be very, very careful in this market, and make sure that you're planning carefully here on the day, because anything is possible, and we want to kind of keep that in mind, that we're in a situation where lower highs could be possible here. First off, let's take a look at Nordic American in here. We've got this nice little push. We've been moving in this upside trend, and I want you to notice we're trying to break through this area up here. And Friday was a little bit rough here on this, but watch that carefully on this shipper. If we can hold this in here, we may see that next upside there. So watch that carefully. Take a look at some of the miners in here. Now, Barrick is reporting today, this morning, so be careful with this. And you can see we're pushing back, but a lot of those miners in here have been doing really well. We'll want to keep an eye on this with this big pushback coming in gold today to see if those miners are getting the same move, because what we've seen lately is gold pulls back, but those miners just continue to move higher. So watch that carefully here today. Microsoft is setting up a beautiful little bullish pattern in here. We did struggle in here just a little bit on this big pop and then pullback since earnings, but watch that carefully in here, holding in here along the trend. We're coming into this area price support. if we can get some bullishness in here. We know Microsoft can move the entire market, so watch that carefully if Microsoft starts to perk back up. And there's no denying how bullish this pattern is here in NVIDIA, continuing to show lots of strength. We popped through my alert here, just resting a little bit up here next to these highs. So watch that carefully. Any bullish inspiration here in the market, and I would look for that to stretch on through to its next move back up. AMD had a nice little pop right in here, leaving a morning star pattern, and then kind of faded back the last couple of days. But I would watch this carefully in here. If we're going to continue to see that bullishness in those big techs, I would watch this area in here to see if we can push on through to the upside. I would continue to keep an eye on GEG. Continues to look like a beautiful chart here. You can see I had alerted in here, popped up. It's just been kind of resting in here. Watch that carefully. If we can get a little bit of bullishness coming up in here, I think there's every reason to believe GE could continue to stretch on higher. Still like the way Cisco has performed, just popping through that alert up here. It took quite a while, but really went blowing through there, and Friday was a big day to the upside. Now, I wouldn't want to chase it, but a little bit of rest, a little bit of pullback in here would set up that next higher low, and I would watch for that next opportunity there in Cisco if that can kind of hold in there. So watch that carefully. Keep an eye here on RTX. I still have this alert up here. I'm waiting to see if this is going to hold along this support and in this trend. Just waiting to see if those bulls will pop this up, and then I'll be looking for a potential entry into that. Looking pretty good overall. Keep an eye on some of these uranium type plays. Now I'm holding UEC. UEC has just been doing so well in here. I wouldn't want to chase it here, but UEC continuing to stretch to the upside. A little bit of rest or pullback would set up that next opportunity in there. But UEC continuing to stretch in here nicely to the upside. You could take a look at things like URA holding in here on support. If we can get that bullish push, might be able to push on through to the upside. And there's plenty of others of those uranium plays to be paying attention to here to the upside. You know, another thing that I've been noticing is a little bit of rotation potentially occurring here to more of the defensive sector side. So if we see any bearishness coming in to the market, I would watch carefully here on things like Campbell Soup. Nice little pushback up, hold and resting in here. KHC made that nice move up, pulled all the way back, but notice we're trying to get that little bit of bullishness going here once again on that big stretch. So watch that here. If that can hold that higher low in here someplace, look for that next opportunity or resumption for that upside trend. If we take a look at some things like Altria made one heck of a move here to the upside. Little rest or pullback would set up an opportunity. Keep an eye on things like Verizon, not technically in the defensive sector of the market, but in that communication sector, obviously. But trying to break this major downtrend in here. And the reason it kind of fits that defensive sector area is because of this whopper of a dividend in here. So nice little higher low. We rested this out. We're breaking through this wedge to the upside. So watch that carefully. We might start to see Verizon move on higher. And you guys know that my trade is here in AT&T, which I am up in a huge way because I've been holding this for some time back in here. And you can see AT&T still trying to push up, and if I look at it on the weekly, big resting consolidation. We just need a little bit of push to pop that through, and I would look for that next leg to the upside in AT&T. So watch that carefully. So there's quite a few things out there that are making those moves in that kind of big dividend pair defensive sector. As a matter of fact, if we take a look at utilities, and of course, one of the big stories that I think we're going to see here is utilities are just going to do a bang-up job trying to provide power to all these AI data centers and things in there. So watch that carefully. XLU, nice little resting pattern in here. I would look for that next opportunity somewhere in here for that maybe to push on through to the upside. So there's a few stocks for you to pay attention to, a few things for you to be watching for. Hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. Thank you so much for being here today. Thanks so much for the support of the channel. And I hope I see a whole bunch of you come on over and join us here on the open house. Would love to see you there. Y'all take care, be safe, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you right back here bright and early Tuesday morning. As always, I wish you all the very best.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail. Trading with heart where the profits prevail.